Okay, trying to figure this out as we go, but doing an alternator on an '01 Passat V6. Obviously, you're going to take your bumper cover. Oh, sorry, you got to put it in service mode because the alternator is way down there somewhere. You can't even friggin' see it. There's the green headed bolt right there that is one of the bolts in it. Anyway, you take these bolts off here. 1, 2, 3, and then there's one up here. One right up there. And then there's those 3. Then inside here, on these lights, right inside here, this handle hooks around on that, and it holds this light and it just snaps out, and then you can take the light bulb out. You have to do that in order to get to this bolt here, and then you take this guy off, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy, and there's one that was right there. I took it out. Like I said, I'm trying to figure this out myself, so I'm going to duplicate the thing on the other side. And then the bumper cover may come off. We'll find out in just a second. Alright, so yeah, the bumper cover just slid off after that, and you're left with this. And now we're going to put it in service mode, so you take off the reinforcement bar by these 2 guys here. One there, and then you loosen up, I don't know if you can see them, but there's some bolts in there, and the whole thing slides forward about 5 or 6 inches. Alright, so ultimately, to get the in service mode, front end, took off this guy. There was a bolt here, right here. There was a Torx here. And there was 2 clips here and here. You can see it right there on both sides. And then the 4 big green screws, one of them was missing here. Big bolts there. Leave this little guy in because it holds your shock absorber. Same thing over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing over here. The bolt right there, you can see the spot that it was missing. And this guy right there. And then she slides out. Now it's in service mode. The light. And you can see the alternator much better now. There you go. So now we can work on it at least. Maybe get it out. And that's the next step. Alright, I got the serpentine belt off already. It's kind of a pain to get around all the pulleys, but this guy goes, to loosen it, goes toward, it's pretty stiff, goes towards the crank pulley. That's to loosen. So towards the crank pulley. That was one thing I struggled with. I was like, kind of going the wrong way. And then there's a bolt underneath this guy. I got my finger on it. I don't think you can see it. I can't even see it. I can just feel it. But we're going to have to loosen that so that we can get these moved out of the way a little bit to get this guy out, because it's still going to be tight. We might even end up having to drain the radiator. So I'm going to pull this out of the way just so I don't break it because it's plastic, and then we'll go from there. So what I found was there's a bracket here that the top bolt on the motor stabilizer is an Allen wrench, and I had to take that out because the bracket went over and I couldn't get this bottom bolt out of the alternator. So the bracket that holds these lines is attached to the top motor mount. I had to take both the nut and the top motor mount bolt out, or a stabilizer. So the bracket looks like this. That's the green one is goes to the top motor mount, and then this goes through the bracket. And goes through to hold the, I think those are power steering lines. Anyway, so now I think I can get that bolt out for the alternator. Well, it's funny now, but it wasn't funny. I thought this, you have to take this little rubber line off, goes right underneath the alternator, and it just connects right here. Where my finger's pointing. I thought it was an air box kind of thing. Yeah, there it is. Air box kind of thing. Pulled it off, and of course, got toasted with water. Luckily, there's no antifreeze in it. So, it's just water. There's a little antifreeze in it, but not much. But anyway, yep. anyway, you take that off, you can get to the wires on the back a lot easier, and hopefully you don't get your face messy like I did. Alright, so I already drained the water on my face on this hose when I took it out underneath, and to get the alternator out I had to take this hose off, which is another radiator hose. So it just is what it is. You got to take off what you got to take off to get out what you got to get out. 2 wires on the back. This was a bad one. I think I snapped the clip. Kind of irritated myself for that, but it is what it is. So alternator's out. It's 120 ampere, the more expensive one, of course. It's original equipment, so we'll take it down, have them test it just to make sure, and then buy a new one, and then begin the return process.